Hello, everyone. Welcome to our paper presentation. So we have three authors in this paper, and my name is Jing Lin. I'm a professor at University of Maryland.
Hi, I'm Angela Stoltz. I'm also faculty at the University of Maryland. I'm assistant clinical faculty in the Teaching Learning Policy Leadership Division.
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise McHugh. I'm a PhD student in the International Education Policy Program at the University of Maryland, and I work in student affairs at the University of Maryland at our multi-faith chapel.
So our paper is on education for world peace and earth stewardship toward a unity consciousness. So our papers contains two major parts. First is that peace and stewardship is a life or death choice. And we discuss why we have come to become what we are and who we are, why we fall into all these problems. And the second part is what are the solutions? What is the philosophy for peace and stewardship? And what are the mechanisms that are required or necessary for a change in education and in our society and the world? Angela?
Oh, so for the first part of the paper, when we talk about why we're at a critical point in human history, some of the challenges we discuss are the devastation that we've caused to non-human species and to the planet. And we kind of deconstruct the causes of these in terms of really predominantly hierarchical ways of thinking, and this dominant paradigm that revolves around hierarchies. And the hierarchies that we focus on are anthropocentrism, scientism, capitalism, and industrial thinking.
Denise?
And the way to counter this is really to think about the role of connecting with all parts of our earth, that each person, each individual are all co-inhabitants of earth, and we should have a consciousness that is based on love and connection. Unity consciousness, it is called.
Right. In our paper, we talk about, education that should focus on not only the mind, but also the heart and the spirit and the body, that we should acknowledge the incredible wisdom in indigenous knowledge system and the life that indigenous people have lived, give us good example about how to sustain stewardship and peace on earth. And also we talk about how we need to learn to connect our heart so that when we are suffering, when others are suffering, we feel it's our own suffering. So we don't want to inflict pain on others, and then we can build peace. That's in a very basic and fundamental level.
I think one of the things that's really critical is really pushing back on and challenging these hierarchical ways of thinking that separate us from each other and the world around us. And our educational systems right now really perpetuate these kinds of systems and structures and have really served to separate human beings from their environments. And this is contrary to many non-traditional communities, such as Indigenous communities, where learning and teaching is place-based and integrated with nature and the natural world. And the effects of that type of learning is a deep connection to the land and a relation with those things around you, not just a respect for those species innately, but also the value that they play in the role of the ecosystems and as a collective community of earth species. So it's very different from the way we're functioning right now. And so we argue that really pushing on these hierarchies and challenging these hierarchies in ways that we can deconstruct them inside of our educational systems is a critical component. And that can start with place-based education, something very simple, like Jing was talking about, whole body learning, recognizing an individual as having four parts of themselves: their spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional parts of themselves, and speaking to all of those different parts of the human being, so that we can grow and generate new generations of whole people who are contributing to our larger societies and ecosystems instead of damaging them.
I very much agree, Angela. And I think one way to do this is through meditation, through mindfulness. It's a way of connecting with ourselves more deeply and also with the world around us. And there's been a lot of studies and tests that show the importance of that, and just personal experience as well.
Yes, people will talk about, say, contemplative practices, right? Like meditation, nature walk, and rituals, and so on, and music and arts. Though they help expand our awareness and help us to get into the deeper, maybe mechanism sustaining life and sustaining the universe. So from there we build a unity consciousness. We feel that everything is connected. So our paper also talk about virtues as the foundational mechanism for sustaining, life and the universe. So for example, the solar system, the universe, and even human cell structures, right? Human body all has a system, that seems to support each other. So we argue that virtues such as interdependence, cooperation, support, right? These are not just like choice we can make freely or not, right? But really they are like mechanisms and technologies that we have to abide by. Like the indigenous people, they show a lot of gratitude toward nature, and that's a kind of virtue that helps sustain the environment.
Yeah, and the reciprocity aspect is also an important component in the giving back. So it's not a consistent taking from one species from the remaining species. I think that's another critical component. But one way for the shift to really happen is to begin by including these non-traditional perspectives, and not just the perspectives, but the people who actually have those perspectives, right? So touting the perspectives of others is not the same as having those people at the table. And it's really critical that people who have been marginalized by our educational systems are brought into the table and are a part of the conversation, so that they can share these non-traditional perspectives and help to challenge the things that have led us down this road of destruction.
I very much agree. And that really, includes all our non-minority religions and faith practices, as well as you say, Angela, individuals from all perspectives that should be at that table talking about a way to form an education system that combines all ways of thinking.
And in our paper, we talk about that love. It's kind of like an energy, that animates the whole universe, that makes all beings, all existence to be a life force and to be intelligent and sacred. And they all have the same kind of will to live and to be respected. So we argue that love is a foundational energy, right? That and maybe a mindset, also a virtue for us to form a sense of what is that? A sense of oneness, right? That we're all one, we're all together.
Yeah, and learning that takes place in nature with connections to ecosystems does foster a love among children for their environments. It supports a natural sense of curiosity that children already have, and a sense of connectedness that children have, that we tend to reduce through our kind of segregated systems of education, where we separate children from their environments and their living world.
I totally agree, and I'm drawn now to the words of the Dalai Lama from 2002. Just as we should cultivate more gentle and peaceful relations with our fellow human beings, we should also extend that same kind of attitude towards the natural environment. Really moving words.
So maybe maybe we can conclude here. Essentially, we argue that, facing the possibility of the great extinction, the sixth great extinction, facing the possibility that we can have a war or conflict that can destroy everything on Earth. We have to choose peace. We have to choose Earth stewardship. We have to choose love. Angela, your conclusion?
Oh, I know. I completely agree, Jing, and I appreciate that. I think that's a beautiful way to end.
And I agree as well. Thank you, Jing, for those moving words.
Okay. So
Thank
you for listening to us, and we look forward to conversation with you all.